All right. So we're going to do an exercise here on interviewing. And so, I'll ask this just to set it up. Does anybody feel like in an interview, you can really get to know the person? Like, do you feel in that 10 minutes you can really sit down and get to know the person? I'm going to go back to that question a little bit, but I'm going to do an exercise with you all. And as I do this with Janice, I want you to think of some things, okay? Usually I do this in a different order, but for this case, we'll do it this way. I want you to think about a characteristic of an employee, good or bad, right? But hopefully a good employee, and what makes a good employee here at Trilogy. And see if you can think of that characteristic in 1 or 2 words, okay? So then I'm just going to ask Janice a series of questions, and I want you guys to think about her answers, okay? And then we're going to do an exercise when we're done. Everybody understand? Any questions? Hi, Janice.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Thanks for coming in today. Got a couple questions, and I'm going to start with this. Where are you from, Janice?
I'm from a little town of Kaleida, Ohio.
Kaleida, Ohio. Putnam County.
Yep.
Yes, I've been there. We've got 3 or 4 campuses up there. So Putnam County. Where'd you go to high school, Janice?
Kaleida High School. I grew up in Kaleida.
So you were born in Kaleida, went to Kaleida High School. Is it a big high school or is it a small high
No,
school?
my graduating class was 54.
54. So small high school.
Yeah, very small. We
Did
don't
you
even
like
have
it?
a football team. Oh yeah, I was on the state basketball team.
Oh, you
We won
were?
state 2 years
You didn't have a football team, but you had enough to play basketball. You had enough girls to play
We were
basketball?
actually
co-ed
really,
team?
really good.
Okay.
We went,
Oh, so you had a really good team.
oh yeah.
How far did you guys go?
We won state 2 years in a row, and then we went undefeated till the next year regional finals.
Wow.
Yeah.
So were you a starter?
No.
No, you were on the team, but you weren't a starter. You said no like that. Did you?
I was a bench warmer.
Okay.
But I got to play on the St. John's Arena in Columbus, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like being on the team.
Yes.
What'd you like about being on the team?
Just the belonging, like belonging on a team, being involved with the team.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing.
Was practice hard?
Yeah.
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 Do you remember your coach's name?
Frank.
Frank?
Yeah.
You remember Frank's last name?
Yes.
Yeah. If I called Frank and I said, hey, we're talking to Janice. Was Janice on the basketball team, that wonderful state basketball team? What's he going to say?
I'll probably remember. Yeah, because
Yeah.
there was 4 seniors on the team.
Yeah. So he'll remember Janice. And will he say she was a bench warmer, or would he say she was a pretty important part of that team?
He probably would say important part.
too.
Yeah.
All right. So you went to high school. You played on a really good women's basketball team. Did you do anything else? Were you in clubs, other sports?
I was in, they called it Campus Life. It was kind of like a Christian club. We met like every once a week, just kind of outside of school, just to kind of talk about things,
Why'd you do that club? Just to be part of another group, or do you have a?
It had the same kind of values I had. I mean, went to church. I go to church. It just kind of had the same values I had. It kind of talked about the same kind of things I'd like to, be involved in, that kind of stuff.
Fantastic. So you did clubs. You played women's basketball. Did you play any other sports?
No.
No. Did you work while you were in high school?
I babysat, actually.
You babysat. Who'd you babysat? Family or friends or?
Group. It was 3 boys.
3 boys.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Little boys?
They were. I think the oldest was like 8.
Yeah.
And then down from there.
Did you enjoy being a babysitter?
Oh yeah, I loved kids.
What'd you like about being a babysitter?
That one of the families I babysat for, they always said they would recommend me to like other families just to do like a weekend thing, because if like the first time I babysat, by the end of that day, I was friends with them. I loved working with kids. That was my
awesome. School, were you good in school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
A's, B's?
A's and B's.
Yeah. So 4.0 kind of?
Probably about maybe a 3.5.
3.5?
Yeah.
You remember the name of the principal at your school?
No.
What was your favorite class?
Math.
Math? You remember your math teacher?
Mrs. Worth.
Mrs. Worth.
Yeah.
If we called Mrs. Worth and said, Janice said she was really good at math, is she going to say, yeah, Janice was really good at math? Or is she going to say, nah, probably not?
No, yes.
She's better basketball player.
No.
Yeah. So good at math. You worked. You did pretty good in school. You played sports. You were in clubs. Great. So you graduated high school. What did you decide to do then, Janice?
I actually went to, I worked at a grocery store.
Oh, you did? What grocery store?
Food Town.
Food Town. Is that a big, I'm not familiar.
It was a chain. They, back in, let's see, it was 2003 is when they they ended up closing the whole facility. A Spartan stores brought them and they kind of ran them out. And I was there for 13 years. So.
And what did you do there?
I was a cashier. I decorated cakes. I was a deli manager. I mean, it was just, I kind of moved up in the role of bookkeeper.
So you moved all the way up through.
Yeah.
So is it still a chain that's in existence?
No, they actually, when Spartan brought them, it took them a year to run us under. So I kind of went back to school, and I always wanted to be a nurse. So I went back to school for nursing.
So you worked your way up. So how'd you get those opportunities? I mean, what did they approach you usually, or did you go to them saying?
They had like job postings, and then we would move up. They'd train you, and you'd move up in the.
How many hours a week did you typically work when you were at the grocery store?
40 hours.
40 hours. Was that a lot of hours, or was that?
It's pretty typical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever work more than that?
Not usually.
Not usually.
Yeah.
Would you have if they asked you
Oh,
to?
yes. Yeah.
Okay, so you worked at the grocery store. How did you get into healthcare? How did you get into being in senior care?
I always wanted, going through school, I always wanted to be a nurse. I actually was, when I was, the grocery store closing was kind of a blessing. I always wanted to go back to school for nursing. When I was going through nursing school, it was either, I wanted to be either like a hospice nurse or elderly or pediatrics. My dad actually kind of pushed me in the right direction. He kind of told me I couldn't be that nurse to give that kid a shot. Yeah. So I kind of went towards the geriatrics, and I can't see myself doing anything else. I call them my old people. I love working with the older generation, their wisdom, the memory care. I love working with the memory. I call them pleasantly confused. I love working with that generation.
When you work with those folks and you work at Trilogy, if somebody asks you what you do, what do you tell them? If they say, what do you do for a living? What do you tell them?
I take care of the older generation. I take care of my old people. They're my people.
I'm going to pause there. Thank you. That was the best interview I think I've ever done.
Thank you.
I'm not kidding you. In this exercise, I'd hire Janice every day of the week. Every day of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Thank you.
I really was. I wish everybody interviewed like you. Thank you. We'll appreciate that. All right, so here's what I'm going to ask you all. What do we notice? Go back to those words that we talked about with earlier, characteristics. Now think about that word related to Janice. What did we learn about her? And give it to me in one word. Zach.
I had 2 words before we
Go
started.
ahead.
And that was passionate and energetic. And I think she kind of checked both boxes.
Okay, hold on one moment. I've got to focus on my writing because it's terrible.
I had respectful.
Respectful. What else?
Servant leader or servant heart.
Servant heart. Give me a couple more.
Team-oriented.
Teamwork, yeah. One more, and then I'm going to change some things.
Humble was my word.
Humble. So we were teasing there, but don't we all wish that that's the kind of information when we get out of an interview? I was ready to hire her after we didn't even get out of high school. Right? I was ready to hire her. I was already done. Then I was just trying to fill it up at that point. I want you all to think now of an employee in your campus like Janice, right? Think of somebody you just think hung the moon, right? Can you think of somebody right now? Could be somebody who works here, maybe in a previous employer. And I want you to do the same exercise, but give me a couple more words, right? Let's try and get maybe 3 more. So we already have passion, energy, respectful, servant heart, team, and humble. Give me 2 or 3 more, please. Nurturing. Two more, please.
Patient.
Positive. What did you say?
Patient.
Patient.
Yeah, dedicated.
Yes.
I was gonna say driven.
Yeah.
She has the drive.
We had patient, dedicated, and I missed one. Sorry.
Driven.
Driven.
Flat out hardworking.
Yeah. I want to compliment your parents also.
Yes.
'Cause
Okay, so we're going to pause there. Now, what I want to do is flip it. I want you all to think of that employee that you're waiting for one of these yes team members to call you and say, okay, you have permission, it's over. Performance plan's been executed and you can turn. I want you to think of that person, okay? Now, this one's usually a little easier for most folks. Describe them in one word and feel free to just shout them out. Like, who's an employee that is just, what do they call it? The energy vampire?
Drama,
Lazy.
Poor attitude.
Negative.
negative,
Selfish.
Usually a little easier, right?
monster.
Right? So they're a little easier. What this exercise is when we interview, do you think that you could uncover those characteristics in an interview like we did with Janice,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
If you ask the right questions. And that's what we're going to talk about when it comes to interviewing is the interview is the most important tool that we have to control turnover. But it is the most unreliable because we don't use it the same way and do it the same way with everybody and with that intentionality when they walk in. When I interview someone, it is the same way every time. Where'd you go to high school? Now, anybody have any idea why I asked where you go to high school? There's a couple of reasons. Any guesses? None of them are wrong. Because two are good, one's just kind of silly.
You're trying to build a basketball team?
You're trying to build a basketball team, right? Anybody have any guesses why I
think
asked?
Values, beliefs, culture.
Yes. Statistically speaking, they say that by the time we are 18, those core characteristics, we are who we are, right? Energy, passion, respectful, servant heart, teamwork, humility, nurturing, patience. You've got those things. I can give you a book and I can send you to medical school, Dr. McNamara, right? I can learn. I was a history major. I'm pretty good at trivia, but nothing else, right? So that's what we're trying to do is uncover those characteristics in that interview. And if you do it consistently, we can find those things out. So the other reason, anybody have any other guesses? There's two more reasons why I do that. One is we kind of are who we are at 18.
I think it also allows you to see how much they pay attention to the details they remember of things. Like when you're asking the names, like I'm a name person, I know everyone, but you can tell that she remembers those people that they made an impact on her life.
Yeah, that's good. Not one of the reasons, but it's good. But it is with the way I interview. The reason I ask those things, you ever interview someone and you ask them for a reference and they go, well, I don't remember. Well, you worked there 3 weeks ago. That's the manager I want to talk to because they're trying to hide something from you, right? If they blurt out a name, that's probably the reference they're going to go, oh my God, that's the best employee you'll ever hire. So, and when I do a reference with those people, I go, hey, listen, I know Janice is your best friend, but we have high turnover in this role and I don't want her to be another one. I need to tell you need to tell me what I need to know to make sure that she's going to thrive here at this workplace. Go. And when you ask that of somebody's friend, they're going to tell you what you want to know because they don't want to see Janice looking for jobs over and over again. So I typically ask, I call it the threat of a reference check. I don't have to ask. She was trying to remember names for a long time ago, but that's what I was doing. Give me some reference names, right? Who was your math teacher? Would she say that you really got a good grade in math? That's all I'm doing. I want to see what I'm getting. There's really a couple other reasons still that I'm hunting for. I'll give you one. One's really cheesy. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, right? Or I live in Louisville, Kentucky. You know what we ask everybody when somebody says they're from Louisville? Where'd you go to high school? We are quietly judging someone based on where they went to high school. Like, it's just what we do here, right? Where'd you go to high school? Iroquois, ooh. Like, you just do that. That's one reason. But the other for me is it's the ultimate icebreaker. I am making a deposit into that person. When's the last time you thought about high school?
5 minutes ago.
Right? Prior to that, when's the last time you thought about high school?
A long time
A
ago.
long time ago. It doesn't matter if you're 17 or 75. I say, where do you go to high school? People usually, I instantly have made a connection. You liked it, you hated it, you're a wallflower. And so now I've got built a rapport, I've given something instead of just going, so what brings you here today? I'm already setting the tone. We say we want to get to know people, and the first thing we ask is, why'd you quit your last job? No. Tell me about yourself. Where are you from? How did you get all the way to where you are sitting in front of me today? And we've got to commit to that. Now, I know we're all busy. We don't have an hour and a half to do this, right? But I usually ask people, how long do you think it takes me normally to interview someone? A caregiver in a campus. How long do you think it takes me to interview someone? 20 minutes? Any guesses? Any other guesses? How long do you think it takes me to interview a CIO?
Less.
Less? How about a president of a company? How long do you think it takes me to interview?
Probably about 5 minutes.
When I'm out of questions. When I have gotten everything I want to know answered, interview over. That's what I want you all to think about. Now, what is it you want answered? So I'm going to pause here and then we'll turn around whenever you guys are ready for me to turn this around. Okay, so this is something we'll probably splice in, but back to that point of you are who you are. 10 things that require zero talent: being on time, work ethic, effort, body language, energy, attitude, passion, coachability, doing extra, and being prepared, right? That's what we said we're looking for of employees. Any of these look familiar? We know what we're looking for in a candidate. We've got to ask the right questions. And that's what this next part of the exercise is going to be about. How can we give you the tools and the resources to make sure that you're as consistent as you picked on that we like to be? Because I promise you, you'll have candidates even walk out going, this probably isn't for me. Or they'll go, I had no idea what this was. And you sell them in. Good? All right, we're going to do an exercise. Has anybody looked through it already? I see you over there, Brittany. Anybody else look through it already? All right. So what this is we used data to try and put together an interview guide to arm you to have the resources and to give the candidate, a lot of this is about candidate experience as well. How often do we walk into an interview and intentionally or non-intentionally, we're late, we forgot who the person was, we got our spiral notepad, we come running in, the state's been in the building, whatever the situation is, and we expect them to be prepared, but we're not. So this guide hopefully helps us all feel like we're prepared. So we're going to start with a little exercise here, and I'm going to set some ground rules. I think did we have an odd number, it sounded like? 2, 4, 6. We had 19. So Kim, will you be my guinea pig with someone? Is that okay? We're going to get into pairs, okay? So what's going to happen? So Tiffany, if you and Janice get together, and you get to continue to interview Janice. We'll see if you can validate if she's as good as we think she is. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this interview guide, and the rules are this. The person on the left, you're going to interview the person on the right, okay? And I want you to start on section 2, which is general interests and commitment, okay? I'm not going to give you any more rules other than what I'm about to tell you. So one is I want you to take one of these words or one of these words, or maybe you have your own word that we didn't get written down, and I want you to think of that word, and I want you to write that word on your interview guide, okay? Pick one of these, one of those, or one of your own, and I want you to write that word on your interview guide. The person on the left, you're going to interview the person on the right, and I'm going to give you 5 minutes. And here's the last rule. I want you to think of that word, but I want you to ask as many questions as you can in that 5 minutes and see how far you can get into the interview guide. So it's kind of a race, but not really. I want to see if anybody can get to section 3 or 4 by racing through the interview guide, okay? So, any questions? The person you each write down a word you want to know, but right now, we're going to flip the exercise in about 5 minutes. But right now, the person on the left, you're going to start at section 2, you're going to interview the person on the right, okay? Questions? So get together. And when I say go, you're going to have 5 minutes. So you guys may have to break up here. Somebody's going to have to...
Okay, so So do you want me to interview
Move over
you
here.
instead?
They have 3. So we got 3 here and 3 here. So maybe one of you all come over.
Sure.
Zachary,
okay,
can
so
you come
you
over?
want to interview me first? Okay.
Yes, I think.
There you go.
Kalida High School. Well, Kalida.
And so
Kalida.
I enjoyed this.
we got about 10 seconds until my
Basketball,
second
and I was
hand
in, they called it
hits.
Kids.
So go right here.
For kids.
All right.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to give you a couple extra, but you got 5 minutes. Person on the left, interview the right. Write down your word. Go ahead.
Yeah, that happened quite a bit.
All right, everybody, we got to stop. There's situation arose. You know, we got to stop the interview. Whatever. Insert scenario.
I was hired.
I used to say state walk in, and then every DHS in here would panic, and I'd have to be like, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So, but we got. How often does that happen? You're in the middle of an interview and something came up. What do we do? I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, but what do you do?
We apologize.
Apologize, right?
Maybe somebody in the team that's with you is able to stay.
Maybe somebody else can do it.
Alone. You want to finish that interview while you got them there.
Move to the job shadow, right? There's always, if we plan, there's always something that can be done. What we don't want to have happen is, well, sorry, can you come back day after tomorrow? Or, you know, apologies, but I think we've done pretty well. Can you start on Monday? Like, I guarantee that happens, right? We got enough. Unless it's Janice, like we didn't get enough. But that's part of the exercise, right? Did anybody get through the scheduling part? No? Anybody get to section 3?
Yeah, we got to
Yeah.
section 3.
Okay. Did anybody get to their word, an indication of their word? You did? What was your word? Coachable. So how did you find out a little bit about coachable? Did you ask her where she went to high school? Yes. Right? Right? And she's probably invested now. Because we're not just going, how much money do you make and can you start on Monday? Now we're having a conversation with this person. Isn't it ironic? Like, we're going to spend 50 hours a week with this person, right? And yet we don't ask them the questions. The state of Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, Michigan, and now Wisconsin said if they're a CNA, an LPN, insert licensure. The state doesn't know if they're passionate, energetic, respectful. Right? We rarely hear, well, I got termed because of licensure. No, it's because of one of these things is why they left. One of these things is what we're upset about. And we can talk to people, we'll get that. Did anybody else, Dr. McNamara, do you guys have a word?
I had a word and I didn't get past the first section.
Didn't get past the first section.
But she's a team player and she's an experienced, excellent softball pitcher.
Isn't it
She
fun?
should make a pitch,
Yeah.
but she did, and because her coach asked her to, so she did, and she took it.
Isn't it funny? We like teamwork. We hear teamwork all the time, and we never ask anybody if they've ever been on a team of any sort. We don't. They could have worked in senior living somewhere, and it was a terrible team. Ask about that team. We use the word team a lot, and we never validate that they like being on a team. It's crazy to me. So remember that in this next piece. Did anybody take notes? You took notes? Good. Right? I gave you all vague instructions. I know we got a lot of nurses in here. Usually the nurses never get by page 1 and they got a page full of notes. Yes. Right? Doesn't matter what I said. I could have told you not to take notes and you're gonna. Like I've learned that in this exercise. But it is, my salespeople, they just took the guide and they throw it away. Like they're gonna do whatever they want anyway. But that is part of the exercise too, right? If you're interviewing somebody, take notes. Make sure you're getting your questions answered. Okay, now we're going to flip it. Now the interviewee is now the interviewer. Hopefully you have your word, could be the same word, whatever, but here's the rules. Now we're going to switch a little bit. I want you to switch and go to number 4, section 4, prior experience. I'm going to give you another 5 minutes. Okay? But the rule now is this. Slow down. Right? Dig deep. I told you all to rush through it intentionally. Now, ask everything you want to ask. I don't care if you get past one question. Ask what you want to ask. Take notes, and see if you can get to your word and take your time this time. Make sense? So we'll give you another 5 minutes, or will I? I'll give you another 5 minutes, and just make the switch, and then we'll debrief and see how you guys thought this went. Okay? All right. 3, 2, 1, go ahead.
Explain why you feel your prior experiences make you a good candidate for this position.
All right, we're going to wrap this up and move to the end of the... I'm in the way of lunch. Like now, I'm in the way of your lunch. So, ooh, I thought that was coming down. All right, how was it that time?
It was great.
Feel a little less stressed,
Oh, yeah.
right? Anybody learn a word? Find out about the person?
Hearing.
This guide is very intentional. One is, I had heard, how do you show us how to do what you do? Or folks will say, can you come interview our people? I can't. So this is the closest we could come up with to providing a conversational interview guide that gives you the opportunity to still input your personality of your campus and what you're looking for, but to give us the structure to say there is a way to uncover what we're looking for. So let's start with the philosophy overall. So one is we can uncover some things if we actually have a script and go through it. If I sat down to you, next to you in a bar or church or wherever it is, insert scenario. I sit down and I look at you and I go, "G'day, mate." What's your first question?
Where are you from?
Where are you from?
Australia. What's your next question?
What in the world are you doing here?
I work for Trilogy Health Services. I'm the vice president of talent acquisition. What's your next question?
Sounds like a great job.
I want a question, Crystal.
What made
What's
you
it?
make the move?
It could be.
What's the question? What's the next?
What do you like about your job?
What do you like about the job? We eat a lot. There's a logical sequence of questions when you're
Yes.
sitting in front of
Flow.
somebody you ask, why do we make it so hard? Right? You're in front of me. Where are you from? How'd you get in front of me? What are you doing here? Where do you want to be in 2 weeks? Where do you want to be in a year? We have all of that information, but we rush through it. And we don't have to anymore. Listen, 2 years ago, probably, right? It was, we had to do what we had to do to get to not just Tuesday, to lunch, right? I used to hear, there was an old a recording I had read. It was the Navy SEALs. They said the Navy SEALs who make it through that hell week, they're not thinking about tomorrow. They're thinking, how do I get to breakfast? And we were doing that in the height of COVID. Now we're hiring 800 people a month. Think about that. But we're losing 600,
Oh,
right? There's lots of reasons that we talked about, from wage to leadership to boss. But on this front end, we can do a better job at interviewing and hiring the right people. So there is intentionality, and there's a second piece to this. So the second piece is where I'll start is your interview guide. If you look behind it, there's a job shadow guide. Those of us that do job shadows, do we listen to our mentors? Do we listen to the folks doing the shadow? Do you feel we listen to them?
Some people do, some don't.
Yeah. Do we feel we listen to them? I'm getting ready to go do job shadow presentation to mentors over the next few months. The last time I did this last year, when I asked them, hey, do hiring managers listen to you when they say don't hire that person? What do you think they said? No. Nope. I could say I worked with that person, they're terrible, that whatever, and it is these employees telling us this, and we don't listen to them. And guess what happens? Not only do they feel that we don't listen to them, They're the ones now that we're going to and say, hey, I need you to work on Saturday. Now, how do you think they feel? You think they're staying? We lose them too. So the job shadow, we're going to create a similar pattern. What that is on the beginning, what should happen is you go through your interview, you do your interview questionnaire, you fill it out. Now listen, I would encourage you as you're going through this, do the whole thing a few times, right? But as you practice, you're not going to ask every question, right? I know that, you know that. I'm not in the room, so I don't know if you're doing it or not. What I can tell you, if you're not, you're doing yourself a disservice probably, right? I've interviewed tens of thousands of people and I practice it every day for that very reason. Once I stop practicing, guess what happens? I get into bad habits. And then I start making mistakes and hiring recruiters I shouldn't hire or not interviewing the right way. So I practice every day. But what should happen is we take this and on the back there's a scorecard. Put how you feel about the person, and then you take it to your executive director, or you take it to whoever the other interviewer is, and they complete it. So we have 2 scorecards on that person, 2 people that say, I think we should hire that person. And we're going to keep this for us. The job shadow, we give to the job shadower. We give that whoever is doing it and let them fill it out. Now we have 3 pieces of information on if we had, and if after 3 pieces of feedback we've hired the wrong person, then they fooled us. But after 3 pieces or 1 piece and we hired the wrong person, we didn't follow it all the way through. After 3 pieces and we all did this and they fooled us, we could be like, we did everything we could. But I would argue you're probably going to see some reduction in turnover and the ghosting that happens if we do this. And then what happens is we would take this piece, they sign the job agreement, we keep all these and you give it to your AP pay. Because it'll have the rate we want to pay them, it'll have the schedule they said they're going to work, all of that is in there, and we can hold ourselves accountable that we did due diligence. Any questions? The second piece is the philosophy. We took exit interview data. It's strategically set up. Schedule and flexibility. So there's a whole page on what schedule do you want to work, what do you want to do? I saw an exit interview the other day that said this was different, it was wage. You told me you'd pay this, and then you didn't. Well, we don't give true offer letters, but we also now have added a welcome to Trilogy. This is the closest to an offer letter. This is your schedule. This is what we're going to pay you. This is what to expect once you get the offer. It's all in there. Trilogy Advantage. Just a very brief highlight of Trilogy Advantage and some of the other things other than the price of healthcare benefits that we offer. There should be, some of you, if you had the old version, may not. We've got Guild, so we've got information on education programs. Then you have your 3 cards. You have your first, which is how sweet it is. And a lot of campuses started doing this, and I can't take this idea. But they do tour bread. Why wouldn't you give the candidate, somebody who interviews something? It'll make it memorable. I was teasing a few weeks ago when my mom was at the hospital. Everywhere I went, people were offering me cookies. I ate 5 cookies that day, I think. Everybody likes cookies, and especially free cookies, but give them something. And then on the back is a QR code for them to give a review on the interview. And then when they get hired, we can have them go do an interview on working here. You've got the apprenticeship card. So there's no reason an employee shouldn't be able to say, I didn't know about your program, or a manager to say, I didn't know how to explain it. It'll be here with QR codes that you can talk through it right there in the interview. And then the referral information. We would hear that a lot. I didn't know that I could refer a friend. Can they start with me? Absolutely. Give everybody the information that they need. So if we sit down with this guide, we've structured it to talk about schedule. There were a lot of questions in there why I skipped about their manager, about teamwork, all the things that we heard about learning. Everything is covered. So there's no reason, no excuses if we don't have this in front of us that we can't cover all those strategically. And so we walk out with this, the candidate goes home with this. Do you know many other senior living providers that are handing this information out in an interview? Maybe there are some, but even if they are, that person goes home, they can show their sibling, their spouse, a friend, check out this job I just interviewed for, and we may get another candidate. Get them referring us people before we even set foot in the door, right? So we are giving all the tools. We keep this, they walk out with this. The last piece of it, we get frazzled. We walk in, state's there, whatever happens. At bare minimum, you walk in and sit in an interview and put this down, we give the illusion we're prepared, right? And any hiring manager can interview for anybody else. That script is not CNA specific. It is not dietary specific. It is person specific. It's up to us to ask the questions. I don't know anything about what it takes to get a CNA. You do. So you all ask the technical questions. We want to ask these questions. Make sense? Good. So that is the last piece with the interview. Any comments on it? Because also we want your feedback as well. So it was a quick version, but think it's a good idea?
It's excellent.
Do you know where to find these in your campus?
I've never seen one yet.
Okay. I'm getting ready to ship 500 more to every recruiter, but they should be on they're not on AccuConnect yet. They should be on Taylor hopefully within the next couple of weeks. We're working with marketing to get those. But if your campus doesn't have them, just let the recruiter know. Let me know, Crystal. I'll get you some. Zach?
Can we get a digital format, or can I get it in digital format? 'Cause I'll use it.
Yeah. We've actually got something a little different for home office. I should add that. Because home office, we use the predictive index, and there's an interview exercise that goes with that where we look behaviorally, and we're going to get to that in campuses sooner or later.
Day one,
Yeah.
PBI.
Did you take it?
I never got it.
Yeah. Did you get the test to take it, though? You actually took the predictive index as the assessment? Yeah, we can get you to take it. So,
I did.
questions so far?
I like that you went over this, and if we have this available, you know how to utilize it.
I could give you all the folders in the world. When you apply this piece, and listen, you can think, even if you didn't have that guide, right? Say you meet somebody at a restaurant one day and you're like, oh, wish I'd have an interview guide. I just write down my 3 words. I know mine: passion, commitment, and attitude. Those are the 3 things that I look for in somebody who's going to work for me. Passion. I need to know you love something, whether it's church, basketball, working with seniors. If you're passionate about something, I can get you passionate about working for me in senior living. Commitment. Do you finish what you start? We have a rule in my house. You can start a sport, but you're finishing the season. If you don't play next year, that's fine, but we finish seasons in my house. Commitment. And those things my kids will know by the time they're 18. They finish what they start. And attitude, right? My analogy comes into play, and I don't want to be this non-humble servant, but I like doing this presentation, and I'm passionate about it. And I was tired. Any of you been tired at work? Been up all night? I was tired too. But I have to come in and put my little Todd suit on for you, right? I like wearing the Todd suit. Don't worry. I'm a salesman if you haven't gathered. But the thing is, passion, commitment, and attitude. My other 3 are urgency, consistency, and efficiency, right? I can teach those. I can't teach those other 3. So that's what my 3 words that I write down. And anybody that I talk to, I've got those 3 words down there, and I make sure in the interview I figure this out. Questions? Thank you all. It's been fun. And thank you. Yeah. We're going to finish with the employee services part and make sure we hit your questions. But that was the interview section. So thank you all so very much for playing. It was fun.
Yeah.